If you want to build like $1 billion business, I think conventional wisdom says you have to invent something completely unprecedented.
Right.
You need this revolutionary technology or a brand new category, some massive paradigm
Yeah,
shift.
you have to be the next Steve Jobs.
Exactly. But when you actually look at the data, and especially the sources we're digging into today, the reality is just wildly different.
It really is.
Sometimes you just need to make soda like 10% less terrible.
Yeah.
Or, and this one is crazy, you might just need to charge Midwest moms $25 a month to talk to an alien.
It sounds totally absurd when you put it like that.
I know.
But the mechanics behind those two examples are actually highly structured blueprints for wealth creation.
Right.
And a taste stack of sources, it includes these really incredible deep dive interviews with founders and investors across all sorts of industries: consumer packaged goods, AI technology, high-level wealth management. We are essentially tracking the complete end-to-end life cycle of how serious wealth is generated and then, preserved.
And I just love how these sources lay it out because we're looking at the entire real estate ladder all at once. It's like the journey from buying your very first fixer-upper to figuring out how to acquire the skyscraper, all the way to deciding how you're going to furnish the penthouse once you finally sell the building.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah, we're tracking product inception, the growth tactics, the actual mechanics of a multi-billion-dollar exit, and like what actually happens the day that money hits your bank account.
And if you're listening to this right now, I mean, this matters directly to you. We call it being the learner.
Right.
Whether you are actively trying to build a startup from scratch or you're just trying to figure out how to climb your own corporate ladder,
Yeah.
the business strategies and the deal mechanics we're unpacking today, they offer these really non-obvious lessons that
Yeah.
apply to virtually any career trajectory.
Absolutely. So let's start at the foundation, which is finding a product wedge.
Okay.
Because before you can scale, and certainly before you can sell, you have to get people to actually care.
Right, you need a product.
Yeah. And our sources reveal two radically different yet entirely repeatable blueprints for doing this. So let's look at the mass market approach first.
Okay.
With a company called Poppy. The founder, Allison Ellsworth, she didn't actually start with Poppy. She started with a brand called Mother Beverage.
Which was a very, very different positioning.
Oh, wildly different. She was selling this highly niche apple cider vinegar drink specifically targeted at stomach issues.
Yeah.
And she was setting up a folding table at farmers markets, working like 80-hour weeks just to keep this tiny niche operation afloat.
It's just a massive grind.
A total grind.
But then came the turning point. She gets a deal on Shark Tank.
Right.
And instead of just pouring that capital into making more Mother Beverage, they actually paused.
Which is wild.
Yeah, they took 9 months off to completely rebrand because they realized this fundamental business blueprint:
Right.
don't go niche if you want venture scale returns.
Yeah.
They rebranded to intercept a massive, already existing consumer behavior. People already drink soda.
This is that 10 to 15% blueprint.
Exactly.
The whole concept is that you don't need to re-educate the consumer. You just take a beloved product and make it like 10 to 15% better.
Right.
So instead of trying to educate these exhausted consumers about the benefits of some complex health additive like ashwagandha or whatever.
And nobody wants to learn about that in the grocery aisle.
Exactly. They pitch something everyone already understands. Hola, root beer, cream soda, but with 89% less sugar.
And the underlying mechanic here is really about moving the buying power from the head to the heart.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, because when you try to sell a functional health tonic, the consumer's calculating. They're thinking, what is this? Will it taste bad? Do I even need this?
It's highly analytical.
Exactly.
Okay.
But when you say soda, you evoke immediate nostalgia. You think of movie theaters, late night pizza, family barbecues.
Yeah, it's an emotional purchase.
Right. Poppy minimized the friction of mass adoption by tapping into that emotion.
Yeah.
And the math completely validates this strategy. I mean, they went from $3 million in revenue to over $500 million in roughly 4.5 years.
That is just insane growth.
It really is.
Okay, so Poppy succeeds by being aggressively normal, just slightly healthier. But then we have the exact opposite blueprint in our sources. Let's talk about the hyper niche approach with that AI app called Tolan.
Yeah, this one is fascinating.
The numbers on this are staggering. They have over 100,000 paying subscribers paying $25 a month.
Which is a phenomenal recurring revenue run rate for a software
It's
price.
huge. But the product itself sounds completely crazy. It's a custom AI alien guide, a friendly digital companion that remembers personal details about your life. And the craziest part, the core demographic is not like tech bros in Silicon Valley testing out new AI models.
Right.
The primary users are 35 to 45-year-old Midwest moms.
It is incredibly specific.
Wait, let me unpack this because the contrast is just jarring to me.
Sure.
Poppy proves that hyper-awareness and mass-market familiarity wins.
Yeah.
But Tolan succeeds by being aggressively weird and niche. It's like the difference between opening a slightly better, healthier Starbucks versus opening a highly successful, ultra-niche cat cafe.
Right.
How are both of these viable blueprints?
Because they solve fundamentally different types of friction.
Okay.
Poppy removed the friction of choice for a massive audience. You want a soda, you just grab the healthier one.
Right.
But Tolan solves a deeply acute, specific pain point that actually justifies a premium price.
Oh, I see.
Modern life, especially for that demographic of moms, is just mentally overwhelming.
Oh,
So Tolan's users are seeking functional help, like literally asking the AI how to cut open a tough kabocha squash.
which is so specific.
It is. But, more importantly, they're seeking emotional offloading.
Like having an assistant to just dump your mental load onto.
Precisely. They are using this AI alien to manage the overwhelming stress of planning their kids' summer camps or, organizing the week's logistics.
Yeah.
It's allowing them to close the open tabs in their mind.
Oh, wow.
And when you solve an acute pain point like loneliness or cognitive overload, you command a premium subscription because the user feels immediate, tangible relief.
That makes so much sense. So we have our two wedges, mass market familiarity versus hyper niche emotional support.
Right.
But having a wedge doesn't mean people actually pull out their wallets.
No, it doesn't.
How do you scale it?
Yeah.
Our sources show these unique growth levers that really buck traditional wisdom. Let's go back to Poppy. They were obsessed with brand awareness above all else.
Yeah, heavily obsessed.
They actually ignored traditional consumer data. Like the data said root beer cans should be brown.
Which is standard CPD logic.
Yeah.
Consumer packaged goods.
Right, so people know what's inside.
Yeah.
But the founder was like, no, the colors have to be vibrant. They have to literally pop on the shelves.
Mm-hmm.
Furthermore, they leaned into TikTok incredibly early.
Yeah, they did.
We're talking about the era when most brands thought TikTok was just a platform for kids doing dances.
Right. Nobody was selling beverages on there.
Exactly. And Poppy used it to become a digital-first brand, which allowed them to instantly penetrate non-coastal markets, like Fargo, North Dakota,
Yeah.
rather than just slowly creeping outward from LA or New York, which is what normally happens.
And then there's their Amazon strategy,
Yeah.
which is fascinating from a mechanical standpoint.
Right, because they were aggressively pushing Amazon from day one. But hold on, beverage margins on Amazon are notoriously terrible, right?
Oh, awful.
You're shipping heavy liquids. The freight costs just eat all your profit. Why would they push a channel where they lose money on every case?
Because they didn't treat Amazon as a sales channel.
Oh, okay.
They treated it as a marketing tactic.
Oh.
The goal was purely household awareness. They absorbed those bad margins to acquire the customer, knowing that the lifetime value of that customer, buying Poppy at their local grocery store later,
Yeah.
would eventually pay off.
Wow.
It's the exact same logic behind why they bought Super Bowl ads.
Right.
They secured a Super Bowl spot just 5 days before the game, completely cementing themselves in the culture as a legitimate soda.
Yeah.
And they tripled their brand awareness overnight.
Okay, I have to challenge that, though.
Go for it.
Is Poppy's Amazon strategy actually a repeatable blueprint for a regular business? I mean, intentionally losing money on every single sale just for awareness?
Yeah.
That feels like a luxury that only heavily funded venture-backed companies can afford.
Well, you're totally right. It is absolutely a luxury of capital.
Okay.
If you don't have millions in venture funding to burn on customer acquisition, you cannot use Poppy's growth blueprint.
Right. That makes sense.
Which is exactly why the sources pivot to 2 software examples.
Ah, hot plate and overlap.
Yes. They demonstrate how to scale when you can't just buy your way into the consumer's brain.
Hot plate is brilliant.
It really is.
So they are a platform that powers independent food sellers, like a pop-up baker doing a limited cookie drop or a home chef selling weekend meals.
Yeah.
They've powered over $100 million in sales. And their growth blueprint, they alter the pricing mechanics entirely.
Right.
They pass the platform fee completely to the consumer at checkout. The creator essentially pays zero fixed costs to use the software. They only cover the standard payment processing.
Look at the psychology there, though.
Yeah.
Hotplate completely removes the financial barrier to entry for the creator. The seller has zero risk. And the consumer. Well, if they are super eager to buy an exclusive limited drop pastry they just saw on Instagram, they are perfectly willing to pay an extra $1 or $2 in platform fees at checkout.
Yeah, they don't even blink.
Exactly. Hotplate aligned their growth tactic perfectly with the true incentives of both parties.
And then Overlap approaches B2B growth with that exact same focus on human incentives.
Yes.
Overlap is an AI video editor that automatically pulls the best highlight moments from long-form content.
Right.
They are actively replacing traditional digital ad budgets, growing at 18% month over month. But their enterprise sales blueprint is what really caught my eye. They aren't selling traditional ROI to these massive media companies.
No, they're selling cover-my-ass insurance.
Let's explain how that actually works, because I think people miss this. When you're selling B2B software, you aren't selling to a faceless corporation.
Right.
You are selling to a human being, a vice president who has a mortgage, a boss, and a specific set of quarterly metrics they have to hit.
Exactly. Overlap wins six-figure contracts because they map out exactly how their product guarantees that specific VP will hit their KPIs.
Right.
So if the VP's bonus is tied to increasing video output by 30%, Overlap ensures that happens.
Wow.
The VP isn't just buying an AI tool. They're buying a guarantee that they look good to their boss.
Yeah.
They're essentially buying their own promotion.
Yeah, that is so smart.
Growth is never just about buying ads. It's about manipulating platform mechanics and deeply understanding buyer psychology.
Okay, so you found the wedge. You've used these mechanics to scale the business.
Yeah.
Now we arrive at the final boss, the actual deal mechanics of monetizing the equity.
The exit.
The exit.
Yeah.
Let's look at Poppy's massive, nearly $2 billion exit to Pepsi.
This stage introduces structural bottlenecks that most founders don't anticipate until it's way too late.
Let's break down the reality of physical products, because it's brutal. Once a beverage brand hits $20 million to $100 million in revenue, you enter rare air.
Yeah, you're huge.
You've basically won the startup game, but you simultaneously enter this danger zone where you can become too big to be bought.
Right.
And why did Poppy need to sell at all? I mean, they were crushing it. The reality is Poppy couldn't get into Lakers games. They couldn't get into Madison Square Garden or Taco Bell. Why?
Because of exclusive pouring contracts.
Exactly. Held by Coke and Pepsi.
They hit the ultimate distribution mode.
It's like building the most incredible video game in the world, right?
Yeah.
But realizing you still need to sell your independent studio to Sony or Microsoft if you ever want your game to actually be played on a PlayStation or an Xbox.
Right, you need the console.
The physical distribution network is the ultimate toll booth. The buyer, Pepsi, didn't just bring a $2 billion checkbook. They brought the blue truck.
Yep.
They brought the direct store distribution infrastructure that Poppy could just never build on its own.
And timing that toll booth is critical.
Oh, yeah.
The sources note that Poppy intentionally re-engaged Pepsi when they crossed the $500 million revenue mark.
Okay, why then?
Because if they had held out and pushed to $1 billion in revenue, the buyer pool shrinks to almost zero.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it becomes a mathematically impossible acquisition for almost anyone on Earth. And without the blue trucks, they couldn't IPO successfully.
That makes sense. And the mechanics of the deal itself are a masterclass. First off, Pepsi bought 100% of the company up front.
Let's contrast that with a typical acquisition, because founders often get trapped in two-step deals with an earnout.
Right. For those of us not swimming in M&A term sheets every day, what does a two-step deal with an earnout actually look like?
It's essentially a deferred payment based on performance.
Okay.
So the acquirer might buy 60% of your company today for cash.
Right.
But the remaining 40% is subject to an earnout marker.
Meaning what?
Meaning you only get that final payout if the company hits aggressive growth targets over the next, say, 3 years. It's a dangling carrot. And it often leads to miserable founders who lose control of their company, but they still have to grind to hit metrics dictated by their new corporate owners.
That sounds awful.
It is. Poppy avoided that entirely. 100% cash up front.
And the speed of it? Due diligence took just 6 weeks. which is incredibly fast for a multi-billion-dollar corporate acquisition.
Oh, extremely fast.
And FCC approval took 30 days. But here is the most impactful metric to me.
What's that?
99.9% of Poppy's employees had equity in the company.
Which is amazing.
Yeah.
And that comes down to how they manage their cap table early on.
Let's define the cap table real quick. That's the capitalization table, right?
Right.
The literal ledger that details exactly who owns what percentage of the equity.
Yes. And a lot of founders, they hoard equity, or they fail to set aside a proper employee option pool in the early days.
Yeah.
And by the time they reach a massive exit, their early employees, the ones who worked 80-hour weeks for below-market salary.
Yeah, they get nothing.
Exactly. Poppy structured their cap table to ensure that when Pepsi wrote that check, generational wealth was secured across the entire organization, not just for the founders and the venture capitalists.
That is just so cool. Okay, so the ink is dry. The billions are distributed. The FCC approved it. What actually happens on day one of being liquid? Like, how do you manage that transition?
Well, the psychological reality of sudden wealth is rarely what people expect.
It's so true. The sources point out that for Poppy's founder, Allison, life didn't change overnight. The day the life-changing money hit the bank account, she was still dropping her kids off at school wearing Crocs and socks.
Yeah.
The very next day, she woke up and still had a full schedule of Zoom calls to attend.
There's no magical parade. The most immediate shift is simply the ability to buy back your time.
Exactly. The real change was hiring housekeepers, chefs, a nanny. It was about upgrading the lifestyle infrastructure to physically buy back hours in the day. And there's a vital detail here that happened before the massive exit. Allison Ellsworth mentioned that they sold some of their shares mid-journey.
Yes, a secondary sale.
Let's explain that. Taking chips off the table early seems totally counterintuitive to the whole all-in, starve for the dream, sleep under your desk founder myth.
Right.
But a secondary sale allows a founder to sell a small portion of their private shares to an investor before the company is acquired. It sounds like it acts as an insurance policy that actually cures founder anxiety.
It is the ultimate cure for founder anxiety.
Oh.
By executing a secondary sale, the founder secures that first critical level of wealth, maybe a few $1,000,000 to pay off their mortgage and ensure their kids' college is funded.
Right.
And once that base survival anxiety is removed, the founder is freed up to swing much harder for the massive $2 billion exit.
Because they aren't desperate.
Exactly. They are no longer negotiating from a place of fear, terrified that if the Pepsi deal falls through, they'll end up with nothing.
Which brings us perfectly to our final source, wealth manager Glenn Allman.
Yeah, this guy's interesting.
He manages $1.5 billion for ultra-high net worth clients, and his personal net worth is well over $20 million. And his core job description is just fascinating to me.
He essentially acts as a psychological permission slip.
Yes.
A massive part of his job is telling rich people it is okay to spend their money.
It's wild.
He literally tells clients, fly first class or your kids will when you're dead.
That is such a great line. It's a profound shift in mindset, though, from hoarding numbers on a screen to actually living. But to do that safely, you need a mechanical blueprint.
Right.
Allman's blueprint is strikingly simple. He keeps about 90% of his liquid net worth in broad global equities, specifically index funds like the S&P 500.
And he actively avoids real estate as an investment vehicle, which shocks a lot of people who assume the ultra-wealthy just buy apartment buildings.
Right. He hates the carrying costs. He cited a recent example where he just had to replace a single driveway at one of his properties for $100,000.
Unbelievable.
As he puts it, real estate eats while you sleep.
Yeah.
But equities produce predictable, passive cash flow.
He calls it the passive rent.
Okay, break that down.
Let's look at the math he lays out. A well-diversified $10 million portfolio in index funds yields roughly $300,000 a year in dividends and interest.
Wow.
If you have $20 million, it's $600,000 a year.
That's crazy.
And that cash flow is generated whether the stock market goes up or down that year.
It's just mathematical freedom. That passive rent comfortably funds his personal burn rate.
Which we should define. Burn rate is simply your baseline monthly living expenses.
Exactly. So his burn rate is $30,000 to $40,000 a month. And that dividend income even covers the operating costs of his $1.2 million airplane. All without ever touching the principal investment. Ullman advocates that at any scale, whether you have 1 million or 100 million, you should build a life map.
I like that.
You map out exactly what matters to you, whether that's philanthropy, family, or buying back your time, and you rely on predictable index dividends to fund it.
It ensures you align your capital with your actual values rather than just blindly accumulating wealth for the sake of it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What an incredible stack of sources. We've really traced the entire blueprint today.
We covered a lot of ground.
We really did. We saw how Poppy found a wedge by making a mass market product 10 to 15% better, while Tolan proved that hyper niche emotional offloading can command a premium price.
Right.
We looked at growth tactics, from hot plate passing fees to the consumer to remove friction, to overlap guaranteeing VP promotions to secure B2B contracts.
Yeah.
We navigated the physical distribution bottlenecks of M&A, like why you need Pepsi's blue trucks to scale. And finally, we explored how secondary sales and passive index dividends buy back your time and sanity.
It is a really comprehensive look at the mechanics of wealth creation. But I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over based on these sources.
Ooh, let's hear it.
We saw that massive exits in the physical world, like Poppy's, are heavily dictated by access to physical distribution bottlenecks. Those delivery trucks and warehouse contracts.
Right, the toll booths.
Exactly. As we look to the future, will the AI founders of tomorrow, like the creators of Overlap or Tolan, eventually face those same types of corporate bottlenecks?
Oh, that's interesting.
Right. Or will the next generation of billion-dollar exits look fundamentally different because their distribution is entirely digital and infinitely scalable?
Wow. That is the ultimate question. The digital toll booth versus the physical one. We will just have to see how the market evolves. But for now, that is our deep dive into the founder's blueprint. Thanks for exploring these sources with us today, and we'll catch you on the next deep dive.